Hello, and thank you for joining. I'm Corey Wick with Veritone's Partner and Channel Alliance program, and I want to welcome you to our Partner Spotlight, where we get to meet some pretty cool folks. The Spotlight is really a way of keeping in touch with our partners, our customers, and to gain insight into the people and the technology that are really transforming and disrupting the industry. We're super excited this morning to be able to welcome a discussion with Veritone's very own Trevor Jones. He's our VP of Technology Partnerships, and we're extremely honored to have Snowflake Senior Product Lead Saran Shah with us. In a bit, they'll be sharing more about our partnership and how to unlock insights into the vast amounts of unstructured data that's out there. And we know that data is literally powering the economy. But first, who is Snowflake? If you don't already know, in less than a decade, Snowflake has become a global force, what some call a Silicon Valley legend, really. They hold the record for the biggest software IPO in history for this New York Stock Exchange. They came out swinging with a bang in its public debut in 2020 and continue to impress their customers, partners like us, and their stakeholders. And they're really setting the stage for what's next in cloud-based data warehouse in that space. It's exciting stuff. And I really want to turn it over to Trevor. He's going to introduce Soren, and he'll introduce himself. And really, with that, Trevor, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. And on a personal note, I'm extremely excited to be working with the bright minds of Snowflake, bringing game-changing capabilities to market. Speaking of bright minds, I'm joined today by Snowflake's resident expert on unstructured data, Mr. Saran Shah. Saran, I'm looking forward to exchanging some insights with you today. Perhaps you could start by telling us what you do with Snowflake and a little bit about Snowflake.
Same here, Trevor. So hello, everyone. My name is Saran Shah. I'm a product manager in Snowflake. I've been with Snowflake for close to about 4 years. And I worked on a number of functionalities, but today we're going to talk about one of my favorite functionalities, which is unstructured data, which we just recently launched, and it became generally available about a few weeks ago. I'm super excited to talk here with Trevor about unstructured data and machine learning, and how do you unlock insights, because there's a lot of insights that can be extracted from unstructured data, and we would love to see how. Yeah.
Great. So what we'll be talking today, as of course, is about unstructured data. First, we'll define what we mean by unstructured data, and then we'll talk about how unstructured data is vast, how it's important, and easier to mine than you might think. But first, let's do some myth busting. What we have here is a list of myths that we've pulled together, talking to customers and prospects, and things that we've heard that we'd like to address. And so hopefully we can give you some good sound bites if you happen to run into these yourself. We'll also see these kind of emerge as themes, as we go through our talk. Saran, would you like to take the first one?
Yeah. This is a very interesting one. Where, sometimes we have heard, most organizations, they don't need insights from unstructured data, and what we found in reality, it's the exactly opposite, because customers have a ton of unstructured data, and we will see more in the presentation later on. But what they are starting to do now is actually crack open those files, derive meaningful insights, run machine learning on that, and extract some information that can give them a competitive advantage. And that has been working out great for some of the organizations which have had a head start to do that. So that's an amazing thing that we have been seeing in the industry so far.
Great. So the next one we've got is mining unstructured data isn't ready for mass market adoption. Sure, that may have been true, years ago, but when you have companies like Snowflake building unstructured data capabilities natively within their platform, and you have companies like Veritone making the mining of unstructured data across, video, audio, and text more declarative, more turnkey, and out of the box, that statement just isn't true anymore. The next one, more data isn't always better. That's an interesting one to me, because because I don't know, Sarin, you want to take this one? Hold me back, right?
Yeah, I mean, for us at least, we've been seeing like so many like more data is the more the data you have, it's always better. It's a challenge because the more data you have, you need to store it, you need to monitor it, secure it, govern it, you need to make sure that it's made use of it. But the more data you have, it's always better, because who knows, like, in future you will have data scientists and analysts who will extract amazing insights out of it, and that will give you a new direction on where to take your functionalities, where to take your product or your business.
Right, right. And one thing that I've seen that's interesting is the sort of the network compounding effect of adding data to any repository is that, any new data set that you do get adds value to the data you already have and allows you to explore insights in new ways.
Yeah, just one good example over there is the Snowflake marketplace, where now like organizations have been doing, like, I have some data, let me take out some data from Snowflake marketplace, join it with my data, and then voila, like I have a lot more insights where before which I didn't have, or I can tap into a lot more insights after that.
Definitely, definitely. So the next one we've got is businesses need to reach maximum analytical maturity before adopting AI and ML-enabled processes. And I have to say on that one makes me smile because if you look at the roadmaps, the ambitious roadmaps of mining the structured data that organizations already have, what's included is MDM, a master data management, and it's such an aspirational goal to master that when they say, hey, this dependency I have is on the Holy Grail, which, as you and I know, that they have data sitting on the shelf that's unstructured that they're not making use of. And that's the low hanging fruit that really could not only help them get there, but it's right in front of them. So, I just think that dependency is often perceived, but it's just not there. Right.
Yeah.
You want to take the last one?
Yeah. The last one is also very interesting. Some customers or some organizations we've heard saying, like, dealing with GDPR is just so hard, especially when it comes to unstructured data, and that's not true in the. I mean, there are challenges definitely, but there are a lot of technologies available where if you want to search for unstructured data, if you want to search for, say, my name, there are technologies which can go and say, like, show me all the images which has Soren in it, or show me all the documents which have Trevor's name in it, and then you can appropriately do all the GDPR processing that you want to do. So these things or these processes are becoming much simpler now.
Great. So moving to the next topic here is the content is growing exponentially, right? So I think everyone understands that, but what we have here is just some examples of just how vast this unstructured data landscape is. So, for example, 500 hours of video were uploaded to YouTube every minute, right? That's 82 years of content per day, right? Another one down here, which I like, is 28 billion hours of media were watched on digital media platforms in 2020 alone. Podcast, which is a major channel for our Veritone One, our AI-powered ad agency. There were 2 million podcasts and 48 plus million podcast episodes in 2021.
Wow. And in terms of documents, like, we have seen PDFs as one of the most common data exchange document format, especially in the when it comes to unstructured text. If you think about any industry, healthcare, finance, retail, or any industry, PDFs are so common, especially when customers have documents, they scan it, they create a PDF, then they share it. And that's the most popular data exchange. Like, over here, the number 2.5 trillion PDFs in the world, and they're still growing. They're still growing at a very alarming rate right now.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that we talk about all the time is just that the days of throwing bodies at tagging metadata and just tagging watching videos and documenting what things are over. It's just the AI is required to manage to mine all of it, right? And so you look at all of these, linear TV and terrestrial radio, streaming audio and video, high res, HD. You've got VR content. So with the emergence of the metaverse, it's more content coming from that, and so not to mention the PDFs. And so what the market is really demanding here from us, right, is AI and ML to be able to mine this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So, talking a little bit about, the competitive advantage of making use of this data. Here's a Deloitte study that was done with 2,700 respondents fairly recently for, line of business executives as well as technology executives. And so, AI translates to market leadership. So, 73% believe AI is very or critically important to their business today, right? Not tomorrow, not 3 years from now, but today. And 64% that the AI gives them an advantage over their competitors. So, the ones that are leveraging it are going to be the ones that win. It's just, that simple. And in 74% that AI will be integrated into all of their enterprise applications within 3 years, right? Which that number surprised me, but it's here, right? And so people are seeing that, and I think some of those myths that we were talking about earlier, more data isn't better, or my company doesn't need this. I mean, this data speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would like to give one example over here. Like, I've been starting to use some newer insurance providers, and previously I used to file claims, and now with the new insurance providers, like I just take a picture of what happened, file a claim, and within seconds the claim gets approved. Like it's just mind-boggling of how fast these companies are moving, and then that gives them a competitive advantage, right?
Definitely. And so kind of moving on to, this is almost a moment of reflection, right? So let's just think a moment about our own businesses, right? Let's think about our companies, right? And so what data assets do we have, right? So across, you got video files, you have images, audio, emails, text, social media, and IoT sensor data. Then you start thinking about, all right, well, what kind of questions can I answer, by mining some of this data, right? So, when does a face or an object or logo appear? When is the keyword said? Who is speaking, right? How does the customer feel, right? What are they asking for? What's the quality of service we're providing? And then you're looking at, okay, now what do we do with that? Do we integrate that with our applications? Do we monitor results over real time? You can scale that up, you can scale it out, right? And so I think that the real question here we should be asking ourselves is, what data are we sitting on that we're blind to and not making use of?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good segue into this slide. Like, what data are we sitting on? And deriving insights from data is not new. It has been done from years ago, right? Years ago, there were table-based data warehouses. Just the data was in very structured columns. You buy a coffee from a coffee shop, and you get a record in one database, and then you run analytics on that. But it's no longer true, right? Like, then the evolution of the data happened, and then file-based data lakes and lake houses and table-based data just combined together came into existence, where the data was not just a simple record, but it was a JSON which had some nested fields and all that. And right now, as Trevor mentioned, like, the data is everywhere. You just have to make sense of what all data are you sitting on. Just to give you an example, let's say you are running a marketing analytics on say a group of people. Their data may be the rows and columns that I was talking about. Their data may be semi-structured in files, or their data may be in their PDF documents or images or videos that you may have about, or customer call records that you may have from the support organization. So it's really important to make sense that the data is now borderless. You just have to collect everything together and use all of that to run machine learning and derive insights from that. and that brings challenges. It's hard to do that. One of the big challenges what we saw in customers is that all of this is siloed, right? Because some data, as I mentioned, maybe with customer support org, some data maybe with marketing organization, some data in the retail business unit of your organization. So to collect all of that and to govern and put security and make sure that right people have access to that data is extremely hard. And these are some of the challenges that we have seen. The other things is, now that you have collected all that data and governed it, how do you create pipelines so that you can you can run machine learning on it and you can extract meaningful information of that? So those are also one of the big challenges that we have seen so far.
Great. Yeah, and I think the partnership, right? So here's some of the kind of what we think is the intersection of what we can do together, right? So if you look at all the analysis that is historically been done by companies, it's that 20% of their structured data, right, coming from systems of record and other curated data sources, right? And what we're talking about is addressing the majority of the data that exists in the world, the 80%. Right, and we're attacking that head on, right? So that's across audio, speech, NLP, text, biometrics, computer vision, and some structured data that goes with it as well. And what we're finding is that we have many customers out there who are already using our products together, and by addressing this partnership directly, we're able to really unlock some additional insights here. And so, one of our innovative customers here is Odyssey, right? And they use both solutions. And what you can see here is a quote on the right here, and it talks about how what Odyssey is using Snowflake and Veritone together is to up-level their content recommendations, search and discovery, brand safety, and to contextual ad targeting. And contextual ad targeting, as you know, is emerging fast, right? Because of cookies going away or being deprecated, right? And advertisers need that ability to target in a meaningful way, right? That protects their brands as well as addressing and maximizing the efficacy of those dollars. Great. So both Veritone and Snowflake have major presence within the media and entertainment as well as advertising industries. And so if you look at just the types of data that exist within that space, you have advertising, events, news, audio, video, images, text, and the capability to be able to the capabilities involved with being able to mine that data unlocks a multitude of use cases, right, across different functions across these types of organizations, right? And so you have the use case, a number of those kind of listed off to the right here, right? I won't read through them all, but I'll pick out a couple, right? And so, for example, just fast search and retrieval of assets. So you can search for faces, for words being said for your brand. You also have topic extraction, content classification, right? It enhances your ability to continuously sell or monetize your content by using AI/ML processes to auto catalog, so actually what's in this vault of data that you have. Sorry, I don't know if you wanted to pick one from here.
Yeah, the topic extraction one which you brought about, that's an important one. So slightly related to that is the call center logs, and transcribing the call center logs and deriving sentiment analysis, like, are my customers happy or not? That's another very important one, I think, which some of our common customers are doing it.
Definitely. And one of my favorites here is advertising analytics and attribution, right?
Yeah.
And so, one thing we're able to do is, as we ingest the terrestrial radio and podcast streams, we're able to actually measure and monetize, measure the impact of live and organic mentions. So not just these are the ads that were being placed, but when my brand is being spoken about and what they're saying and the quality of those mentions, and actually be able to tie that back to performance. So,
yeah.
As we were saying before, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So maybe here we can talk a little bit about how the landscape looks around this unstructured data mining process, right? So, at the top left there, you have Veritone applications that are cognitively enabled. which also includes bespoke applications that are built upon the aiWARE stack. We also have what we call third-party apps, which these are your line of business supporting applications, right? From CRMs like Salesforce, ERP, robotic process automation, business process automation, and so on. And on the right, you have is Snowflake, right? And so Snowflake in this ecosystem serves both as the backend structured data to support these applications, but also as your analytics platform, right? Which are also going to be connected to your visualization tools as well as to AI ML models for applying predictive analysis, and the list goes on. And the shareability of the data. And at the bottom there is what you have is is Veritone's aiWARE platform, right? And so what we have here is the ability to orchestrate these AI ML models for unlocking all this data. And so, down up the left, what we have is infusing that within applications, right? And then down the right is we also have landing that metadata into Snowflake for further analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the key things over here is the pipelines. So if you remember, like one of the key challenges that I mentioned was creating these complex pipelines to derive meaningful insights from that unstructured data. And with this integration, the pipelines become super easy. Just to give you an example, like let's say you have 10,000 new images that come in every day. Snowflake will automatically pick up those 10,000 new images. They will send to Veritone. Veritone will do the extraction process, run machine learning on that, send the information back to Snowflake, and then it will be stored on Snowflake, and it will be ready for your data analysts or data scientists to play on. So that simplicity of the pipeline is actually very key and this for this integration.
Perfect.
Yeah, and all of this is possible mainly because of the support for unstructured data that we just recently added. Snowflake already had the structured and the semi-structured data support, but recently we just, as I mentioned before, we just launched the support for unstructured data. And what that includes is basically a fivefold thing. Mainly, you can store unstructured data in Snowflake. You can catalog all of that using directory tables. And it's all about basically, Snowflake is all about centralizing all of your data and making sure that it's all governed well and it's all stored in a single repository. So bringing that unstructured data and adding governance capabilities like role-based access control or security or scoped access is really powerful on this. The last things what I want to mention here is Snowflake also has this marketplace where we focus on mobilizing the data from one organization to another. So secure sharing of unstructured data is a big piece of that functionality. And then the Snowpark support for unstructured data is how we focus on processing that unstructured data, and one part of that is using external functions, and Veritone integration comes that way. But then the another part of that is running Java UDFs and Python UDFs on processing that data.
Perfect. And moving on to, we talked a little bit earlier about, some of the use cases within media and entertainment, advertising, and just that these capabilities, unlock use cases across, every industry essentially. So, we have here is a list of just some of our favorites here. So we talked a little bit about advertising before in terms of measurement of live and organic mentions. Also, one thing we're working with is our advertising clients, and I hope to do a follow-up series, follow-up webinar on that as well to deep dive on that use case. But essentially what we're able to do is leverage their investment into Snowflake, create a borderless data situation where we can pull in that performance data, we can pull in that AI ML output together and optimize campaigns more holistically and in more real time. So we're seeing that the popularity for that pick up fast. The other item I mentioned, from before is contextual ad targeting, right? So with cookies going away and the ability to be able to target ads, right? So if you think about you're going to advertise on YouTube, right? You want to advertise on the right content, but you also want to advertise your brand in the right moments, right? So maybe a show about high school football, if you're Under Armour, for example, you want your ad to show up during a game, right? But if they're having a heartfelt, dinner out with, with their friends or as a family, maybe that's where you want to place an Applebee's ad, right? So, you can tell that the timing and placement of those will really enhance the efficacy of that ad, and as well as it'll make sure that your ad is being placed in the context that's safe for your brand.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And Sarin, I know you've seen some use cases within healthcare.
Yeah, within the healthcare also there are very interesting use cases that we have seen. For example, some organizations take screenshots of prescription pills or insurance cards, and now they want to run OCR and extract that text out of it, or to run some analytics on it. Doctor notes is also another one where you run machine learning on those doctor notes, and then you identify like what are the most popular drugs that have been given by doctors, or what are the most popular tests that have been done on what kind of demographics. So the use cases are just too many and very vast. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorites, maybe the last one I'll mention, is around conversational intelligence. One of the reasons I really like this one is not only because the amount of actually recorded conversations with remote work and all that just exploding, and so there's just this mountain of content that a lot of companies aren't making use of, but it also kind of allows us to flex our capabilities in terms of breadth of cognitive engines, right? So if you think about analyzing a sales call or contact center, right, you can use facial recognition to understand who's on the call, to look at what the facial expressions are. You can use transcription and translation and talk about, okay, what's being said and what are those words, right? You look, content extraction, where you can say, all right, well, what are they talking about? What features are they asking for? You can even look at the sentiment, and is the customer that's speaking happier at the beginning or the end of the call, right? And you want to see that your agents are doing a good job. You want to make sure that those interactions with your customers, whether it's sales or post sales, you want to make sure that those are reflecting well on your brand, and you're learning as much as you can from them. Great. So, I think now is a good time. We can move on to some Q&A. It looks like we have a couple coming in here.
Yeah. You want to take the first one? What types of unstructured data can be stored or processed?
Yeah, so we mentioned a few of those, right? So, I think of it in terms of audio, video, text, right? And so, audio can be, so it can either be, closed files like MP4s or things like that, but it can also be streams, whether it's, ingesting 24/7 TV or radio or podcast or streaming, right? As well as text, right? So when you have, a lot of text, it can be unwieldy to try to say, okay, where's the so what? What's the insight? How do we aggregate this, right? And draw insights from there. I don't know if you have any others that you wanted to mention there.
Yeah, the some other that come to my mind are like images and PDF documents, docx files, and all those. Yeah, those are also quite popular amongst their customers or organizations.
Perfect. Yeah, now I'll ask you one here. So let's see. This one is: would I need a team of data scientists to mine unstructured data?
Not really. I mean, what Snowflake and what Veritone and other organizations, what we have been seeing, are trying to do is democratize and make it simpler and simpler for running machine learning on top of unstructured data. Just to take an example of our integration right now, Snowflake is all about SQL queries. So you can store unstructured data in Snowflake. You can run SQL queries to make sure that you have governed and it well, you have cataloged it well. Now we make an integration to Veritone where you probably don't have to write any code, and you get directly insights which you can again run from SQL queries. So we are trying to make it as simple as possible to have and mine unstructured data. So you don't really need like a large team of data scientists. But yeah, data analysts, data scientists, citizen data scientists, like all of these personas are awesome to have.
Definitely. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that statement, because, I like to use the word declarative a lot. And, what declarative does is it takes all that syntax of having to write code and all those things, and it just makes those problems go away. You couple that with the borderless cloud within Snowflake and with Automate Studio, which is our low code, no code orchestration layer. and have those and leveraging those together. And it really just doesn't require a team of data scientists anymore, especially when you couple that with, leveraging the best AI ML models on the market and bringing those onto our platform. It allows companies to take advantage of the data scientists that exist, within other companies, and that's that scale that you're really looking for. Yeah. Here's another one here. How does the measurement work for advertising mentions? Is it easy to attain by the advertiser? Yes. So essentially, I'll talk a little bit about how that works. So with any Veritone One client who books media on a linear stream, so whether it's podcast or maybe terrestrial radio or TV, what we do is we actually provision that data source to stream into our platform live. And then what happens is we build what's called a watch list. So we look for those key terms that are related to your brand or related to whatever your creative is. And as those are coming in, it'll identify it and trim it down to the exact mention. And then that'll actually go to our creative team, who will rate the quality of that mention based on your specific goals, which then flows into the performance measurement as well as the spend that you had for the campaign. And this all, this is paved road, and this is just, SOP for Veritone One.
Awesome.
Yeah. And let's see, do we have any more in here? Here we go. How can my organization get started mining unstructured data?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, let me start and then you can add to it, Trevor.
Sure.
So
Great.
what I would say is one of the big steps is to make sure and to get an inventory of what unstructured data you have. As Trevor mentioned, there is unstructured data across the organization everywhere. There is audio files, there is recordings, there is video files, there is images, documents, all of that. So first make an inventory of all of that, gather everything into a centralized place, make sure you have the right governance, you have the right security on top of it, and then start making sure of, what is it that you want to derive out of it? What is the value that you want to get? What questions do you want to get answered out of that? And then start preparing, what is the time investment that you need to do? What is the monetary investment? And what can you get the benefits out of that? Then you can start thinking about the technology and what to use after that. Anything to add, Trevor, on that?
Oh, you covered it well. The only thing I would say is that, both Snowflake and Veritone could be very good partners for you as you're trying to build those business cases and trying to look for that value. Is, we do that all day long, and we're here to help. That's definitely something we can do in terms of helping you build business cases to help go get those investment dollars for you to really take advantage of this opportunity. Great. So I would say just, it looks like we're out of questions here. So in terms of next steps, so now what, right? So contact Veritone to discuss your unstructured needs. We have a QR code there. Download the ebook from the Snowflake site on best practices around managing unstructured data. As of yesterday, we're actually Veritone, our offering is now live on the Snowflake Data Marketplace. So for Snowflake customers, be sure to check us out there. And also stay tuned for more webinars from Veritone and Snowflake. I'd like to, we plan to do many more of these, both talking about, use case deep dives with customers, as well as talking about, technical deep dives on the how-to. And I'd like to thank the audience today for your time. Sarin, always a pleasure, and I really appreciate you joining us today. And I'd like to just, ask if you had any parting thoughts for us.
No, same here, Trevor. I really enjoyed having this conversation, and thank you. Thanks a lot for the audience to join in today. And I think you mentioned that this is like, just the start of some of the series. So I'm really excited to look forward on how customers use this integration and what can we showcase later on.